So whenever you guys are ready.
Okay. So my name is Montgomery.
I'm Paula.
We're with Cultural Surroundings. We supplied the furniture and helped with some of the design elements along with the furniture, or that go with the furniture rather, to help create the TECHLink space at Vinson Public Library. So do you want to talk about kind of your idea on how you approached the different aspects and how you address the different features of the library and what kind of your design mentality is?
Sure. First and foremost, as we work as designers and furniture suppliers for libraries and offices, and have for over 30 years. And we've worked with Houston for the majority of that time, so we're privileged to still be here working with them and evolving our process with them, which includes listening to what they want and what they want to get out of a space, and meeting the furniture to fulfill those wishes. Supplying both finishes and construction that can stand a lot of use, a lot of wear, and hold up for many, many years, and is a great value for the user and the end result of the project.
What do you think were kind of the hot points of this project as far as the design and the furnishings go, and what was really emphasized going into this?
With Houston having their own design department, they have a strong direction on where they want to take a project. So a lot of what I do with them is just respond to their requests. But I think the emphasis in this was sleek design, efficiently made furniture for the technical aspects of what it has to do, and some customization so that it can work exactly in the spaces that it's going to be housed in. So that's another part of what we do is craft it specifically for a given space. And there are a few pieces here, I wouldn't say many, that are built specifically for a size of a room and function.
So those spaces would include the podcast studio, the recording studio,
Maker space, and the lounge. As projects go, there weren't a lot of different functions going on here, but what we did supply, I think, suits the function well, and I think for the most part we hit the hot spots of what the client wanted.
A big part of what we try to do is we work with our manufacturer to meet the client's needs, as Paula was saying, but what that really entails is when you're really designing spaces and you're trying to supply furniture that will not only meet the design aesthetic, but last in a commercial space for 25 to 35 years, you really have to put an emphasis on, like Paula was saying, finishes, but to meet the use, because I feel like a lot of furniture, yes, it can be made well, yes, it can be made with quality materials and with a design in mind for the use case it's going in, but at the very pinnacle of, okay, we need a recording studio, right? Well, what does that recording studio entail? Okay, well, we need a specific width desk that is a specific depth. We want a somewhat of a transaction ledge on top of it. What would you call that? That's in the recording studio on the ARPA desk?
That is an equipment rack.
Okay, so an equipment rack that is laminated with PVC edge bands built into it. They wanted a place to store a computer or a tower, so we supplied a rack underneath on the frame to hold a tower, and then a wire manager integrated into the frame for cords and things like that. The grommet placement is a big thing, along with the height adjustability, so that if you wanted to stand, if you wanted to sit, it's just more modular. When you're designing furniture like this, you need the ability to make drastic changes and create something that's completely new and entirely custom, and also the ability to just change little details, like an equipment rack that's built in and is laminated with PVC edge bands. And that's the other thing that we really focus on too, is supplying the very, very best that we can, which, to kind of point out the edge bands, PVC edge bands are substantially more wear resistant than laminate or self-edge banding, because it's not laminate, it's plastic, and it adheres far better, it doesn't tear as easily, and that just speaks to the durability of the product. you want things that clean very well. So just those little refined details really push you towards more of a custom or a modified from standard product, and that's what we do consistently on all of our projects. You know, we have to do that to ensure the client's getting exactly what they want and what they need for the space. And you can never refine it to the point that you're going to exactly meet every single patron and every single staff member's needs, but it just helps the client get that much closer to doing so. So, you know, in that sense, what do you think the biggest hurdle in kind of, like, was it the overall aesthetic of the building? Was it tying all of it together? Kind of what was the thing that was most emphasized? Was it the podcast table? What was spoken about the most?
I think
through the design process and then customizing the furniture.
The podcast studios continue to evolve, and the furniture that supports all of this equipment continues to evolve. So I think that was and continues to be the biggest coordination in this type of project, is what does this table need to be in many aspects of the equipment interfacing with the furniture, and how all of that interfaces with the people that will use it. So the podcast table is the center focus, even though it's a very simple piece of furniture, is probably the most critical piece, and it took the most time to talk about of this project.
Yeah. So even something that's on the outside, you know, if you were just walk by and, you know, you were in the atrium and just kind of walk by and saw it, you wouldn't put much stock into the time and the design that went into it. But at the end of the day, this was this room, you know, we assembled the table in, you know, a couple of hours, but the guys that came in and did all the wiring and everything like that, Romeo Music, it took them a week and a half because of everything they had to do, and then how we had to coordinate with them on the different placement of the microphones and everything. So something that is as unassuming as just a table, even though it's for a podcast studio, takes an immense amount of effort to pull off in a really profound, professional, and functional way. So do you think that there was, you know, through the design process, do you think there was anything that was kind of overlooked, or that, you know, you kind of had to bring people back to focus on, or, you know, reiterate a little bit or something like that?
No, I think that we're to the point now, and this just goes with working with a client for an extended period of time. Over time, you get to know what the important things are for them and continue to supply what's important to you, which is product that is low or no maintenance as possible and meets their aesthetic. For instance, and all of their qualifications, for instance, the chairs in this room needed to be a little elevated from a standard task chair, but still have casters, the ability to raise and lower for people's comfort, and be swivel, so people can swivel while they're talking. There are so many variables in just a chair that you need to be sure your client understands what their options are, and you meet their budget with the options that maximize the usability of that piece. And that goes with fabrics too. Fabrics are a big part of the aesthetic of a space. And there are millions of options, but the cleanability of certain fabrics and the use in terms of how long they'll wear is a big factor of choosing those things. And in this case, the client had very specific aesthetic interests and wanted everything to be wipeable, cleanable. So there is no woven fabric, it's all vinyl, so that it can be easily cleaned and it will wear for a long time.
Maintenance is a big factor in public spaces.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think that there was anything that you kind of wanted to see out of this project that came to life, or just the overall aesthetic of the building? Do you think that functionally and aesthetically you met all of the different requirements going into this?
I think we did. I think we're getting closer and closer as we do these projects to nailing them, yes. And I'm proud of how we can evolve and continue to grow with a client who wants to push the boundaries and see just how good the services they can offer with each new project, and I think this one's a great one.
Do you have any special ideas or kind of special moments that happen throughout the design process that you can think of?
No, I think it's a standard design process. We went through the options in terms of materials. If there were new seating, there's some new seating we chose for this space that offered a different series of finishes that we hadn't reviewed before, and so there weren't any particular challenges. Just trying to come up with more creative solutions for an evolving service. But I think the result was a good one.
Do you think that collaborating with Romeo Music and then the contractor and Houston Public Library, the administration, all that was a seamless process? Do you think there's anything that we could have done better, just from an internal standpoint?
I think that more collaboration is always better, and I think going forward we might do more of that. But I think given the fact that we are in completely new territory in these projects, the end result that we're getting is still a good one, even though we could improve on it.
Yeah, I think you can always improve on things. I think you can always obviously design things better and execute on them better, but it's just, you don't know to ask questions that you don't know you need to ask. And I think kind of a big issue is you can when you're designing things, and obviously we always want to make sure that we supply quality product and it's robust and it's made with, you know, thicker steel. You know, we want to specify 14 gauge steel, we don't want to specify 16 gauge steel, so it wears. You want to make sure you supply large threaded inserts, and everything has machine bolts and it's well made. But I think kind of once you work out the idiosyncrasies of the manufacturing process, it's substantially easier to move forward and design product around a good foundation when you're working with a really good manufacturer. I think that's a really important aspect, and why these projects turn out to be so successful is not only their design with, you know, the intent and the longevity of the space, but the product is so substantial that even if you don't meet every single bullet point, you know, of what you were trying to achieve, because at the end of the day, when you came into the space and you're like, oh, well, you know, we can improve on this and refine this detail, I think, you know, you still have a robust piece of furniture or pieces that go into the space, and it just lends to the idea that, you know, this space will be here, and this, you know, this space can serve the community for many, many decades to come. And, you know, without revision and maintenance and things like that, that's a big thing. You know, we want to supply really, really good products so that we don't have to maintain them that much.
All in all, very successful. I think it's been a good project.
I think it's been a great project.
Yep.
Good. I think that's it.
I love it.
Yeah.
You guys did great.